Hello and welcome to From the South, teleSur's daily news show. We start off in news on Latin America. Supporters of Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro stormed the opposition-led National Assembly Sunday, where lawmakers vowed to put Maduro on trial for violating democracy. This comes on the heels of a suspension of the referendum process by the National Electoral Council after 7 states declared fraud in the collection of signatures during the initial stage of the process. Opposition forces have called for a rebellion against the government. Chile's left lost ground in local elections Sunday, particularly in the capital Santiago. The results are a blow for President Michelle Bachelet's coalition a year before the country's presidential elections. They also mark the lowest voter turnout in 26 years. Bachelet's candidates won 140 mayoral seats to the opposition coalition's 145. Experts believe the loss is a result of the president's attempt to reform the economic model of former dictator Augusto Pinochet, which has resulted in years of protests for improvements in education, healthcare, and pensions. Inmates of a northern Haitian prison escaped on Saturday after killing a guard and stealing firearms, said authorities. A manhunt has been launched with support from UN peacekeepers for the 174 fugitives. Haiti's Minister of Justice, Camille Edouard Jr., said one prisoner died after falling off a wall and hitting his head, and 2 other prisoners were injured during the escape from the Arcajé prison on the north coast of the capital Port-au-Prince. Police set up checkpoints on roads leading from the prison. The brother of former Colombian President Álvaro Uribe will stand trial on charges that he bankrolled a paramilitary organization that is responsible for dozens of murders since it was founded in the early 1990s. Santiago Uribe Vélez was arrested in February for his death squad ties. A federal prosecutor has now called him to respond to charges that he is the alleged mastermind behind crimes of aggravated homicide and conspiracy through the 12 Apostles paramilitary group. Current Colombian President Juan Manuel Santos has selected a chief negotiator to lead the government's delegation at the peace talks scheduled to kick off in Quito, Ecuador, later this week between the Colombian government and the ELN rebel group. Santos's former Minister of Agriculture, Juan Camilo Restrepo, will head the government delegation. The dialogue, set to formally begin Thursday, comes after the landmark peace agreement between the larger rebel army, the FARC, and the government was narrowly rejected by a thin margin in an October 2nd plebiscite following nearly 4 years of talks in Havana, Cuba. In international news, 16 civilians, including 3 children, were killed in heavy bombardment across rebel-held Idlib province in northwestern Syria. In the town of Khan Sekun, airstrikes killed 7 people, including 2 women and a child, according to the Syrian Observatory for Human Rights. The Britain-based observatory said the raids were carried out by either Syrian or Russian aircraft. Refugees residing in the jungle camp in Calais, France, have little choice but to leave, as authorities are expected to start demolishing the settlement on Tuesday. Hundreds of refugees were bused to reception centers where they must claim asylum in France. Authorities believe the evacuation will take around 3 days to complete. The European Union's hopes of signing a landmark free trade deal with Canada this week appeared to evaporate as the Belgian government failed to win the consent of French-speaking regional authorities. The summit that was scheduled for Thursday in Brussels to sign the agreement is expected to be called off. Spain's Socialist Party has brought an end to a months-long deadlock by voting in favor of allowing conservative acting Prime Minister Mariano Rajoy to be re-elected to serve another term in office. This has saved the country from going to the polls for the 3rd time in less than a year. Dozens of pro-choice protesters demonstrated against Poland's conservative government's proposed anti-abortion policies in Warsaw Monday. And finally, Mexicans donned costumes and face paint on Sunday, disguising themselves as the iconic Mexican skeleton figure known as La Catrina, or Elegant Skull. They flooded the streets for a pre-Day of the Dead parade. The Catrina Parade takes place before the All Souls Day, a pre-Hispanic tradition in which families remember their dead and celebrate the continuity of life. And that's all for From the South. For more on these and other stories, you can visit our website, telesurtv.net/English.